I have the full background on this Karen. The Karenicity is unbelievable. Put up the picture. We got her name, where she works, her boss. I want to remind you of a couple of things that happened in this video. Obviously, it is telling, right? You know, she said, and I quote, "You are hurting my fetus, my unborn child." Did you all hear that part? She said that. Why did she say that? Because that bolsters her argument to do what she's attempting to do, which is theft under any other circumstance. We will call this attempted theft if the black male went up to the white female who paid for her opportunity to utilize the device and he decided to grab it and try to take it. We will call that clearly attempted theft.
Several days later.
The dominant online narrative was that this racist pregnant woman tried to steal a bike from a black man and then made herself out to be a victim with her white tears. Her attorney later provided receipts claiming that she in fact paid for the bike, but it felt like no one thought it might be a good idea to just wait and see what the truth was before attacking her. Her employer at Bellevue Hospital was immediately contacted. She was placed on leave pending an investigation. Now her attorney is looking to potentially sue media outlets that propagated false allegations about his client. But we still don't know the full story. And it's better to wait and see how this develops before people try to destroy a stranger's life and livelihood. So, do we feel better about racism in America today? It certainly feels like we're becoming more divided. The Karen narrative flattens an entire category of people, white women, as malignant members of society whose toxicity lay dormant until they're in the presence of people of color. It's ridiculous.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I cannot believe this video that I just watched, that one of you guys tagged me in on Twitter. That's why I watched it. Of Anna Kasparian having yet again another red pill moment where she realizes that the extremeness of the left is a very, very, very bad thing for this country, okay? This is something that I've talked about time and time again on my channel, is that the left and the extreme left is the biggest domestic terror threat to this country. That's not an exaggeration, guys. A vast majority of the political violence in this country comes from the left. I don't care what the FBI says. I don't care what the Democrats say. A vast majority of political violence are left-wing extremists, okay? Now, Anna Kasparian, again, like I told you guys, have had red pill moments in the past about various subjects. Crime. She's had a red pill moment on climate, okay? She had a red pill moment on gender where she infamously came out and said, "Don't call me sis," right? Don't call me sis, and that she pushed back against the woke gender agenda on the left. And the left came after her and called her a TERF, okay? A TERF and a transphobe. Now she's pushing back against the extreme radical left's narrative when it comes to race, which is overwhelmingly racist against whites, which is something that, again, I talk about almost every single day on my channel. The rampant racism against whites in this country that is overt in your face, okay? That's the difference. It's overt. They're telling you that, hey, we don't like whites and we want to be racist against them. Now, in this video right here, which I wish I could play the whole video, okay? But I'm actually not, because this video is probably going to be really long and I don't want to make a 45-minute video because there's just so much to break down here. She's going to start off talking about this story about an Uber executive being punished because this executive decided to have diversity and inclusion conversations about white women being called Karens, right? Basically giving white women a space to express how they feel about being labeled a derogatory term, a Karen, right? To talk about it, right? Which by definition is literally what diversity and inclusion should be about, right? All races and ethnicities coming together to talk about important issues regarding race. However, like I told you guys, the real meaning of diversity, equity, and inclusion is everybody except whites. That's actually what it really means. And Anna Kasparian just realized that, right? She's finding that out the hard way.
Uber has placed Bo Young Lee, its head of diversity, on leave after she moderated a couple of employee events that made the horrifying mistake of including the perspectives of white female employees. After several years of diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings, making it clear that the inclusion part is really meant to exclude the, participation of white women, some employees at Uber didn't take kindly to the sudden paradigm shift. Backlash from Uber workers who felt the topic was insensitive spooked the company's execs, who immediately decided to place Lee on leave. Now, the future of their longtime diversity, equity, and inclusion chief is uncertain. The New York Times writes that employees' concerns centered on a pair of events that were billed as diving into the spectrum of the American white woman's experience and hearing from white women who work at Uber with a focus on the Karen persona. They were intended to be an open and honest conversation about race, according to the invitation. Employees turned to the company's Slack to complain and expressed that they didn't like that some of their white colleagues saw Karen as a derogatory term. But as we all know, Karen absolutely is a derogatory term. Are we really gonna pretend like it's not? Employees felt the event organizers were minimizing racism and the harm white people can inflict on people of color by focusing on how Karen is a hurtful word, according to messages and an employee who attended the events. Well, it's a derogatory term. That's why it's used in a derogatory sense after someone is perceived to have engaged in bad behavior. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. In the workplace, you shouldn't be calling your coworkers Karens. It's just not a good idea. And by the way, just let that sink in for a moment. Employees were openly angry that they couldn't use a derogatory word against some of their colleagues. This type of work environment is just fantastic. I mean, it's not hostile at all. Look, I gotta be honest, simply treating employees equally and providing a space for some to gently push back on the Karen narrative is nothing compared to the several years people have been consuming speeches like the one Dr. Aruna Kilanani gave at Yale in 2022.
I had fantasies of unloading a revolver into the head of any white person that got in my way, daring their body, and wiping my bloody hands as I walked away relatively guiltless. With a gun to my chest, like I did the world a favor.
Yeah. Okay, now that might seem like a bizarre, isolated incident, and to be honest, the rhetoric there is rare. I haven't heard rhetoric that extreme, but there is an entire industry where authors and academics make a killing conducting trainings that simply tell white workers to shut their mouths and take kindly to hours of being told they're all the same. They're all racist, they're all hateful, they all deserve what's coming to them. And it should come to no surprise that DEI trainings like this have led to lawsuits because they include, discrimination.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Another red pill moment here from Anna Kasparian, this time on race, because she's realizing something that I've been talking about literally for years, which is that the left is quite literally anti-white, right? They are racist, okay? They're racist against whites. And they especially don't like white women or white passing women like Anna Kasparian, who I'm not even sure if you can categorize her as actually white. I think she's Armenian, but hey, she looks white, right? So again, she's living the white experience according to the leftists, okay? And Anna is realizing with all the anti-white, anti-Karen sentiment in this country, in which again, it's okay to openly attack white women simply for being white women, that the writing's on the wall, right? That the left is eventually going to eat white women like her. Because I told you guys, in the wake of the so-called City Park Karen situation, and I'm not calling her Karen, I just use that term because that is a term that everybody knows to use to reference the situation. That was a full mask off moment for the left in regards to how they really feel about white people, okay? White women, where they say, hey, we would much rather a white woman be assaulted, mugged, robbed, violently attacked by a criminal and allow themselves to be deleted from society. We would much rather them do that than to actually cry for help because the white woman might be putting the life of a criminal in danger. Again, this is an extremely, extremely, extremely dangerous message that they're putting out there, and they're telling white women, hey, you need to be so guilty about the sins of your ancestors that it's okay if a criminal deletes you. It's better for them to delete you rather than for you to cry for the help that you need in that moment. It's truly disgusting. And I think that what happened with this City Park Karen situation is probably what compelled Anna to do this story and to speak out about the overt racism against whites in this country, specifically when it comes to the demonization of white women, okay? And one of the reasons why is because during this segment, she actually talks about this situation, okay? In which, you know, to me, she is alluding to a mistake that her colleague made, Rashad Richey, in regards to prematurely judging the situation, okay, before all the facts came out, because he was looking at it through a racial lens. He automatically wanted to demonize the woman because she was white and went on air and accused her of being a thief, a racist, a pregnant thug, right? And this is, again, sponsored by TYT, her employer. And he basically put the network in danger of being sued, which means that a race hustler on TYT, because he hates Karens, basically can be costing people like Anna Kasparian her job if a defamation lawsuit is successful against him. Again, it's truly glorious to behold, okay? So without further ado, let's actually watch her segment on this.
Look, I think this discourse has had a devastating impact on the country, because when you mix business interests with the branding of social justice, chances are the objective is really about profit rather than actually addressing systemic issues.
Hopefully she'll be doing a segment on Target, right? And all the woke capitalism going on with these companies going woke. Again, for profit, right? For profit, not because they actually care about the stuff. It's simply for profit.
And if the main problem is systemic racism, why are we all engaging in this toxic witch hunt? Sussing out people we perceive to be problematic does nothing to address racism in our criminal justice system. It does nothing to improve educational curriculum in our schools. And it fails to ensure that people of color have equal opportunities to wealthier white people.
Now, I'm telling you, right now, she's talking to Rashad Richey, right? That's literally what she's doing. And you're gonna see why I'm saying that here in a few minutes. But this is exactly who she's talking about, because this man has a whole segment, right, on his channel where he talks about nothing but Karens, right? He has a shirt called "I Wish a Karen Would," which is being sold by TYT, right, by the company that she's employed by.
We've been conditioned to think that generalizations about entire groups of people is somehow okay, as if it doesn't contradict the fight against racism. We've taken the bait in this extremely successful divide and conquer strategy. And to be honest, I've been struck by how effortlessly callous the online discourse has become. Any out of context viral video that features a conflict with a white woman is automatically considered evidence of a racist act, even before we have all the details. The latest example involved a pregnant hospital worker named Sarah Comrie in New York. She was captured on video during an argument she had with a black man over a city bike in Manhattan. The man claimed that he paid for the bike rental, but Comrie disagreed.
No, record him.
Help! Help me! Please help me!
It's not your bike.
Please help me!
It's not your bike.
Please help me! Help! Please get off me!
What's going on?
The dominant online narrative was that this racist pregnant woman tried to steal a bike from a black man and then made herself out to be a victim with her white tears. Her attorney later provided receipts claiming that she in fact paid for the bike, but it felt like no one thought it might be a good idea to just wait and see what the truth was before attacking her. Her employer at Bellevue Hospital was immediately contacted. She was placed on leave pending an investigation. Now her attorney is looking to potentially sue media outlets that propagated false allegations about his client.
Yeah, like TYT, right? Like TYT, okay? Best believe this is a shot at Rashad Richey. Best believe this is a result of probably some internal conflict going on at TYT, where a lot of people behind the scenes are pissed off of that guy. They're pissed off at that guy because he's putting the company in danger because of his racist rhetoric towards white women, okay, like Anna Kasparian, right? See, again, it's just hilarious to see all this stuff come full circle with the left. They eventually always eat their own.
But we still don't know the full story. And it's better to wait and see how this develops before people try to destroy a stranger's life and livelihood. So Do we feel better about racism in America today? It certainly feels like we're becoming more divided. We're definitely more obsessed with whipping out our phones to surveil one another because God forbid we fail to capture one of our peers in their worst moments. Simply put, I absolutely loathe this crap. And I can't pretend like I'm above it because I engaged in a lot of it myself.
And your network, and your colleague, Rashad Richey, right? You need to make sure that next time you do a segment like this, you call out names, right? Because again, he's gonna be responsible for you losing your job, okay? For you getting fired because the network's gonna go bankrupt, okay? From his race hustling, okay? I'm just saying.
And I have deep regrets about that. Karen hunting is a destructive symptom of the powerlessness people feel as they're more atomized and alienated from those around them. It's the abscess that forms from the lack of an organized movement that values the humanity of individuals while fighting institutions that propagate inequality. It's what happens when society fails to understand the critical nature of solidarity in fighting systems of oppression. The Karen narrative flattens an entire category of people, white women, as malignant members of society whose toxicity lay dormant until they're in the presence of people of color. It's ridiculous. But back to DEI trainings. Is there any evidence that they even work? Well, over the years, social scientists who have conducted careful reviews of the evidence base for diversity training have frequently come to discouraging conclusions. Though diversity training workshops have been around in one form or another since at least the 1960s, few of them are ever subjected to rigorous evaluation, and those that are mostly appear to have little or no positive long-term effects.
Ding, 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 right? Again, I mean, there's no surprises here. That it does not improve the bottom line. I don't care how much these woke ideologues say it does. It does nothing but divide. They just do it the virtue signal and say, hey, we're doing this, right? In hopes that people will support the company because they're doing it. But it doesn't actually really help anything.
The lack of evidence is disappointing, wrote Elizabeth Levy-Palak of Princeton and her co-authors in a 2021 annual review of psychology article considering the frequency with which calls for diversity training emerge in the wake of widely publicized instances of discriminatory conduct. In fact, there are unfortunately even some studies that indicate these trainings could be causing more harm than good. I mean, certainly if you're being told by your colleagues that you're automatically a bad person and you're very likely racist because of the color of your skin, gonna cause some hostility in the workplace, no? Now, in the case of DEI, Dr. Dobbin and Dr. Kalev warn that diversity training that is mandatory or that threatens dominant groups' sense of belonging or makes them feel blamed may elicit negative backlash or exacerbate biases. Yeah, I mean, no surprise there. So if employers insist on DEI trainings, they shouldn't shun discussions that are actually inclusive. But personally, I'd rather encourage employees to go out and grab a drink together after work. They should bond and get to know each other without a third-party mediator making money off of their interactions. And employees should understand that any effort to improve their working conditions and to do something about actual systemic racism as a whole is reliant on solidarity with their fellow coworkers. Despite the protests, I think Uber's diversity chief had the right idea. If you're going to implement diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings at the workplace, they should be inclusive of everyone's thoughts, feelings, and participation.
Thanks for watching the.
Yeah. So again, she just learned something that I've been telling you guys for the longest time if you just pay attention. Diversity, equity, inclusion means anti-white, right? AKA not white. And apparently, I think there's some internal conflict going on between her and her colleague, Rashad Richey, who again has a whole segment on his channel dedicated to nothing but talking trash about white women, right? And directing hate and vitriol towards white women. Anna Kasparian is realizing the writing on the wall in regards to where this is going, right? That again, the left is eventually going to eat up people like her, okay, who's an ally with him simply because she's white, right? Again, it's about damn time. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.